Women's suffrage in America. Women's suffrage is the right of women to vote in elections. The first convention about women's rights was the Seneca Falls Convention, held on July 19th and 20th in 1848. It was soon followed by other conventions, including the National Women's Rights Convention in 1850, the first in a series. And after 16 years, suffragists sent their first petition to Congress, requesting to prohibit disenfranchisement on the basis of sex. In 1869, two national suffrage organizations were generated: the American Women's Suffrage Association and the National Women's Suffrage Association. The first focused solely on the vote, to attract as many supporters as possible. They approached voting rights state by state. They also included prominent male reformers and supported the 15th Amendment that granted African American men the right to vote, while the latter aimed on achieving voting rights through a constitutional amendment and argued that starting with women's suffrage and gender equality was a better strategy than trying to earn suffrage for every oppressed group at the same time. So they advocated for a range of reforms to make women equal members of society and focused their efforts on women's suffrage rather than universal. They also believed that instead of supporting the 15th Amendment as it was, women's rights activists should fight for women to be included as well. The two organizations operated independently until they reunified in 1890. The first women's suffrage parade takes place in New York City in 1910. Within 3 years, the parade will garner around 10,000 participants and hundreds of thousands of onlookers. After nearly 100 years of protest, on August 18, 1920, the 19th Amendment to the USA Constitution was finally ratified and granted white American women the right to vote. After that, minority groups slowly start to earn the right to vote. In 1924, Native American women are given the right to vote through the Indian Citizenship Act, which technically granted citizenship to all Native Americans born in the U.S., but individual states still blocked Native American residents from voting for many years. In 1943, Chinese immigrants, including women, are given the right to citizenship and in turn the right to vote. Like other minority groups, it's still hard to actually vote. In 1965, Black and Latin women are also able to vote thanks to the Voting Rights Act, which prohibits voting discrimination based on race, color, or national origin. And in 1975, the Voting Rights Act is amended to protect language minority citizens who had a history of exclusion from the political process because of the primary language they spoke, including Native Americans and immigrants from Latin America and Asia. Today, women can vote technically everywhere, the sole exception being Vatican City. Unfortunately, there are still many countries where women still face steep barriers to actually casting ballots, like Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Uganda, and Oman. But without doubt, there are still many more countries where women are subordinate and therefore feel disenfranchised. As Susan B. Anthony, one of the leaders of the National Women's Suffrage Association, said, there never will be complete equality until women themselves help to make laws and elect lawmakers. I hope you liked this video and thank you for watching.